Welcome to Incredible, where we discover the weird and wonderful in this world. Now, we've shown people demonstrating some remarkable feats in the past, but what happens when these people's claiming special abilities are just big fat liars? Let's look at 7 frauds who were exposed on television. Number 1, Uri Geller appears on The Tonight Show. Uri Geller claims to have psychic powers, including the ability to bend spoons with his own mind. Geller began gaining recognition on television as he demonstrated what he claimed were examples of mind over matter. Naturally, there were skeptics who claimed that Geller was using sleight of hand to simulate psychic powers. In 1973, Johnny Carson, the host of the wildly popular late-night show The Tonight Show, invited Geller onto his program, determined to discover if he was the real deal or just a fraud. Carson was an amateur magician and called on professional magician James Randi to help evaluate Geller's claims. Randi helped ensure that Geller had no access to any of the props he had expected to use. What happened next became what has been called a legendary immolation, as Geller could not perform a single trick. Ironically though, the embarrassing appearance led to many more television appearances for Geller, as Randi spent the next few decades exposing how Geller used sleight of hand, not psychic power, to perform his feats. The Randi-Uri feud became the stuff of legend as Geller continued his claims to superpowers, and Randi repeatedly calling him out. Number 2, no-touch KO. Wouldn't it be great to be able to knock out an aggressor without laying a hand on them? Now, while you may have heard of martial artists using pressure points to take opponents out, martial artist George Dillman claims he can manipulate a person's chi, or personal energy, to knock them out without even touching them. Dillman, a well-known karate instructor, had won hundreds of tournaments and demonstrated his pressure points techniques and no-contact knockouts numerous times. In 2005, Dillman's knockout was called into play on an episode of National Geographic Channel's Is It Real program. The episode featured one of Dillman's students attempting a no-touch knockout on Luigi Garlashelli, an investigator of so-called supernatural phenomenon. The procedure failed, leading to a questionable explanation from Dillman.
The skeptic was a totally non-believer. Plus, I don't know if I should say that on film, but if the guy had his tongue in the wrong position of the mouth, that can also nullify it. Yeah, you can nullify it. You can nullify a lot of things done to you. In fact, you can nullify it if you raise those 2 big toes.
If Dillman's explanation is true, the no-touch knockout apparently isn't as powerful as we think. Next time you come across someone who can do one, remember to raise your 2 big toes and touch your tongue in the correct position. Number 3, fake Kung Fu master. Local television shows are a great way for some people to get exposure for whatever scam they're trying to peddle, as seen when a so-called Kung Fu master appeared on a program in Hawaii. What's funny about this demonstration is that the whole segment wasn't intended to expose him, but that it happened inadvertently. The Kung Fu practitioner showed how he was able to break concrete blocks with a light touch using a glass. Pretty impressive when you watch him do it without breaking the glass, right? The only problem was when the so-called Liu Kang went to his next demonstration, which looked to be a thicker brick, the show's host beat him to the punch, telling the viewers at home that these were real bricks and they'd been tested. The host just gently tapped the brick, immediately splitting it in 2. Was the host a secret martial artist master, or was it a more likely explanation that the bricks had been baked in an oven to make them brittle and easy to break? Although the show host didn't say anything about the demonstration, it's clear to most people that it was phony. Now, we would like to say you're as thick as brick if you don't believe us, but we know our viewers are a savvy sort. Number 4, faked psychic fooled. There are a number of people who claim to have psychic abilities in this video, and this one represents a group whose claim to fame, or should we say shame, is their ability to help law enforcement and families of crime victims in solving previously unsolved crimes. In one case, a woman who claimed to have psychic abilities was exposed as a fraud by the TV show Inside Edition. Portland psychic Laurie McQuarrie was hired by the show's producer to find a missing child, a woman he claimed was his missing sister. The producer showed the psychic a photo of his missing sister, and after collecting $400, the psychic broke the news that his sister had been violently murdered and violated. Inside Edition's Lisa Guerrero then conducted an interview about her powers, showing McQuarrie the photo of the young girl whose mystery she claimed to have solved. McQuarrie's psychic abilities were exposed as phony baloney when Guerrero told the person in the picture was actually her as a child. A puzzled McQuarrie then asked Guerrero, "You didn't disappear?" To which Guerrero replied, "I'm right here." Laura made a quick exit, but the story exposed her trickery. As we've seen before though, that hasn't stopped her and she still maintains a website proclaiming her psychic prowess. Number 5. Mind over matter mess. James Heydrich claimed to have the power of telekinesis, aka mind over matter. In between brushes with the law, Heydrich gained a modicum of fame for his apparent ability to move pages of a book and move pencils merely by thought. During an episode of the TV show That's My Line, Heydrich proceeded to showcase his usual bag of tricks for host Bob Barker and a panel of 3 judges. Heydrich's so-called mind-over-matter manipulation was challenged by James Randi, who claimed Heydrich wasn't using his brain but his breath to move the pencil and turn the pages. Randi was given the opportunity to put Heydrich's powers to the test, and he simply arranged styrofoam around the phone book, and the magician offered $10,000 if Heydrich could repeat his feat without moving the styrofoam. Sadly for Jimmy Boy, the price wasn't right and Heydrich failed, claiming the styrofoam and overhead lights combined to form an electric field that interfered with his telekinesis. Nobody bought his act and Heydrich's quest for the spotlight quickly faded. As sleazy as Heydrich's claims to psychic powers were, they paled to the crimes he committed, having his way with 5 boys. Thankfully, Heydrich is confined to a state hospital where it's unlikely security has to worry about him using psychic powers to escape. Number 6. Peter Popoff. TV evangelists' habits for taking advantage of the gullible and desperate are similar to many of the charlatans on our list, but Incredible thinks they're even worse because they take advantage of people's faith in God. The only God these crook televangelists seem to care about is the almighty dollar. In the case of Peter Popoff, the public had to deal with a man who claimed to take away people's illnesses. The only thing that Popoff was taking away though was people's hard-earned money. Popoff would gather large crowds where he would call out a person's name and mention the illness that was affecting them. This prophetic gimmick might have been impressive, but in 1986, some skeptics paid Peter a visit, bringing a radio scanner with them and using the scanner to bust the scammer. The skeptics, including our friend James Randi, discovered that Peter's wife Liz was giving him the names and ailments, information which some of Popoff's associates had gleaned from unsuspecting audience members. The expose hit the news as well as The Tonight Show, where Johnny Carson was happy to call out Popoff as a fake. His money-making industry collapsed and he filed for bankruptcy a year later. Like other phonies though, he has more lives than Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger, as he's still going strong helping people out of their money while preaching his own version of the truth. And number 7. James Van Praagh. James Van Praagh is one of many self-professed mediums who claims to speak with the dead, passing messages from the great beyond to here and now. However, James's powers came into question when co-host Barbara Walters revealed that he had taken her aside and warned her if he sensed a disturbance in her back and her blood, which had an elevated white blood cell count. Walters dismissed the warning about her back as everyone has back problems, but she did contact her doctor, who humored her and gave her a blood test. Walters admits she was worried, but her worry turned to anger when the blood test came back negative. Walters informed her viewers of what happened, scolding Van Praagh. Van Praagh issued a statement saying he had been misinterpreted and was disappointed at Walters' actions. What do you think of these phonies getting called out on live television? Sadly, some people still believe in these frauds, but as the saying goes, you can't fix stupid. As always, we hope you enjoyed the video. Leave your comments down below and we'll see you next time with some more incredible videos.